Hey guys, it's Logan Freeman, and this is the LiveFree Investors Podcast. I interview investors and business owners who share investment advice so you too can live free. Today is a special edition because I have never had two folks on at the same time. So I'm super excited to have Ryan and Tyler here with me today. So guys, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, Logan, it's good to be here, man. I told you before when you and I talked, man, I'm a huge Niners fan, so I'm sorry that you were Raiders. So
yeah, and Chiefs, right?
And Chiefs. Oh, that's even worse, right? This last year. So good deal, man. A little bit about who we are. We're MF Capital Partners. Tyler and I have known each other for about 14 years, and about was it Tyler 6-7 years ago we formed MF Capital Partners. You and I both have a background in single family. We both became entrepreneurs in 2008 in the internet market.
Okay.
We kind of diversified and went out to try to find out how to make money outside of real estate, and met each other there. And ever since then have been the best of friends and created MF Capital Partners.
Awesome.
So for the last 5 years, we've actually been teaching for a guy named David Lindahl.
Okay. Yeah.
So with that, we really focused on what we could do to create value for other people. And that's kind of how it started was, could we raise some money for people? Could we find deals for people? Similar to what I guess your viewers and everyone else is doing right now when they start out.
Sure.
Since then we've grown and gotten bigger. Right now, we own close to 1,500 units. I think, Ty, with this deal, we surpass 100 million assets under management, I think, right?
Don't act like you think, like we've been pumped about that. It's like,
yeah, you should
over 1,500 units, over 100 million in assets. And those are goals that weren't even on the radar, when we first started. So super fun time for sure.
Absolutely, guys. Well, thank you for sharing that. I've got a couple of Dave's books up on my shelf. I can't remember exactly which ones they were. It was something about market cycles is one of them.
Emerging real estate markets, yeah.
Yes, emerging real estate markets. That's what it was. Yeah, so I read that book and started following his stuff, religiously. So is that where you two actually met, or was it before that?
We met before that in more of the internet space and networking type events. And then reconnected really, with Dave. I heard that Ryan was doing some multifamily stuff. I was in the single family space, and Ryan was in the single family space before that too. And when I heard he was taking down apartment buildings, I was like, what?
That's awesome.
I didn't even know that was possible,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys are humming, and that's incredible. Congratulations on the 1,500 units and the 100 million, man. That's a big mark. Why don't we just jump into it? So if that's where you guys are, where are you headed?
Like goals wise?
Yeah.
Oh, I freaking love that question. It's one of the things that I feel is so important is just to revisit goals regularly.
Yeah.
We have some 5-year goals and 10-year goals, and our 10-year goals, we want over $1 billion of dollars of assets under management.
Yep.
6,000 to 10,000 units at that point. I personally want to have a couple best-selling books at that point, and just be in a position that we can provide opportunities to other people. The bigger you scale, the more you're in a position to help others. And Ryan and I both agree with this. That is like where we love real estate, but being able to put people in a position to benefit their lives, that's what drives me as a person, right? That's what drives me to my core.
Yeah. So what would be your first book title?
That's a great question. I don't have that answer. Ryan, what would be my first book title? Do you know?
The Multifamily Mindset.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go. I like that. I'm big on mindset.
Yeah. I think that mindset is super important to keep, especially, during a health crisis and a pandemic. It's the only thing that's really been able to keep me pushing forward and putting one step in front of the other is just a foundational mindset that you can control what you can and you can't what you can't, and be okay with that, And so the mindset piece is really important, not only for just keeping momentum going, but also for being able to crush limiting beliefs. I think so many folks, like you guys said, I started in the single family space as well, but never did I think that I would be going and buying apartment communities, brokering apartment communities, especially in the trajectory that we did. And you have to have somebody or something or some book that just says, hey, you can do this, and this is how, right? And that's all about mindset. Whenever I tell people what I'm doing, it's like, hey, I'm in private equity and real estate. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, that apartment complex that you rent, yeah, we own those, not that one specifically, but we own assets like that. They're like, what? And so you just don't have, if you're not exposed to it from somebody else or a book, or you have that mindset, you can't do something. So I love the mindset piece about that. And this business is not easy. I think that's one thing a lot of folks need to hear is like, this is an up and down, industry, and you got to be able to stay real steady and constant. I remember back in football, since I was an offensive lineman, my coach would always say, Logan, the wide receivers, the running backs, they can get in the peaks and the valleys, and sometimes they need to get up in the peaks and valleys to do incredible things. But you got to stay steady Eddie all the time. There's somebody in front of you that's going to hit the quarterback and hit that running back if you don't do your job every single day. And I think just blocking and tackling is so, so important, and being able to stay steady throughout the whole process, man. It's so important.
Totally. Yeah, I love that's so true, man. And it's the foundation to everything. Everything begins and ends, even though there's no end, but like begins and ends, right, with the mind. So.
It does. Just when I tell folks, they're like, well, what is your number one success, principle? I'm like, get up earlier. What do you mean? Like, get up earlier. They're like, well, I can't. I'm not a morning person. I'm like, get up earlier. I'm not a morning person. Like, what do you mean I'm not a morning person? Unless you've worked nights for 30 years like my mom has, don't tell me you're not a morning person. Become a morning person, right? I'm like, own your morning. So anyways, all right, guys, I got to jump in. I'm just riffing here. I got to jump into my second question. What's the best thing about being investors and business owners? And I'll let you both take that one because I want to hear both of your perspectives.
It's similar to, and I'll start, right, if you don't mind, but for me, I think it's similar to what we just talked about, which is, being in a position to benefit other people. I had these goals growing up, and, I grew up in a position where I always needed people to provide opportunities.
Sure.
I guess we all need that right as we're beginning. Yeah. And I was so grateful for people that offered me jobs, whether that was to haul hay or to, umpire a baseball game or whatever. Just income opportunities I was so grateful for. And I always wanted to be on that other side, and being in a position as a business owner, as an investor, it allows me to create opportunities instead of, wait for opportunities, and provide opportunities instead of hope for opportunities. Right. And then I would also just say the freedom, the freedom that it provides, the limitless opportunities for growth, and just the way that and I know you resonate with this, man, because I can tell just from your aura and who you are, but like it forces you to be better. You have to be better because it all starts from the top down, man. And I sincerely want to be in a position to help other people. And I can only do that if I'm a good person, if I better myself,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love the answer. And, I think that, so my faith is super important. If you're watching the video, you can see, I got the Pope and my crucifix behind me. And in the Christian and Catholic, not so much in the Catholic world, but definitely in the Christian world, there's this, almost this mantra of like, you can't be successful and be a good person at the same time. And, my answer to that is that's not true. Money does not make you, money, freedom, whatever it is, does not make you a bad person. It makes you more of what you already are. And so if you can exponentially increase the impact of who you actually are, then that's going to be a better outcome than just sitting there on the sidelines and just being being a good person, but maybe not having the impact that you absolutely could. So, I think back to the Bible and I think about, using my treasures, right? What are my treasures? Do I bury them in the ground or do I go make more and multiply, and to me, that's really biblical and it goes right to my core. So I appreciate you sharing that, Tyler.
Yeah, I love it. That's it, man. You got to take your talents and put them to work and benefit all those around you as you do that. I love it.
Ryan, I want to ask you the same thing, man. What's the best thing about being an investor?
How do you follow that up with you guys, right? Yeah. You know, along those lines, you know, Tyler and I really believe in the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and that comes first, the more you give. And Tyler and I, you know, being able to teach other people, we've seen all kind of walks of life, right? Of people that have come to us and say, man, I can't do this. And Tyler's philosophy is, that's not, I can't, it's how can I?
Sure.
You know, and just seeing people not have control or think that they don't have control over their life, or they don't have, you know, they're afraid of getting let go, and being able to help out and being in a position, like Tyler said, to help others out. You know, I went through a pretty bad divorce 6 years ago or so. And, you know, I see a lot of single parents, whether they be fathers or mothers, that struggle, you know.
Sure.
And one thing that's great about this industry, man, is you don't necessarily need money to start out, man. You can provide value to others. You can raise capital from others and then be in a position we're in.
Yep.
See kind of what I went through 6 years ago and see where we're at today. Man, it's just, you know, with hard work, like you said, waking up early, but giving back to others, man, we've received so many blessings from that.
Yeah. Well, you guys definitely have the go-giver mentality. I didn't know Ryan for less than 5 minutes, and he's writing. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm writing people down that I can connect you to. I'm like, what? I'm like, before you even learned anything really about me, you were just sitting there thinking about how you could add value to me, and made like 4 introductions just like that. And that's the type of value that you're talking about, man. I mean, that was incredible. I was just like, just off the top of my head, I was like, my gosh, these guys aren't asking for anything, because I talk to a lot of takers on a regular basis, you know, it just was completely opposite. And then Tyler and I had a call, and I watched that video, and I was like, oh man, these guys are going places. So I appreciate the answer on both of those. So let's get into some macroeconomic trend questions, because Tyler just posted a video, you know, kind of what I'll call a hot take, and I loved it. And I want to talk about this because there's so many different moving pieces right now. I just wrote some market commentary on what's going on in Kansas City, but I'm just curious. So like keeping up to date on current trends and opportunities is always a challenge, especially with how fast things are moving right now. But tell me your thoughts on how you guys stay up to date, how you're seeing trends, making decisions based on those trends. And yeah, let's just dive into that.
Yeah, I'll take that if you don't mind, Ryan. I mean,
Go for it.
I think that first off, it's important to stay informed, right? And how I stay informed, how we stay informed, what we focus on, you know, you have to know what your business model is. And everyone will say that. Everyone will say, you know, hey, you have to know what your business model is. You have to know what your focus is. But I feel like few people take the time to explain why that's so important. And here's why it's important, in my opinion. It's important to define what your target is, you know, what you're working on, because regardless of what that is, it forces you to take ownership, right? Yep. Ownership forces you to look for solutions instead of excuses. And in my opinion, you know, the crystal ball is we're looking at, hey, what's the future hold? What are the trends going towards? What are we doing? The crystal ball is your own mind. That's your crystal ball. And what I mean by that is meaning how you decide to handle the situations as they arise. You know, are you going to be the victim of circumstance, or are you going to take what is there and control the circumstance? You know, and I'm passionate about this, man, because I feel like if you're continually looking for some crystal ball, and I promise I'm going to circle back around to the point, but it's like, if you're looking for some crystal ball, you're just going to be stuck spinning your wheels in fear forever. And wealthy and successful people understand that making a decision is not an event, right? It's a process, and meaning that decisions aren't finite, right? Yeah. That you can move and be moldable and grow from those things as long as you take ownership. So, you know, success is about being committed to a million different decisions that lead to this, you know, big result, not one big decision. So that doesn't mean you don't stay informed, right? You have to stay informed. It's imperative that you stay informed, but it means staying rooted in ownership, meaning after you get informed, after you take in all the information, that you stay rooted in ownership and focus on what you can control and move forward. And I'm so passionate about that because it kept me stagnant for the longest time, because I was so afraid to make a wrong decision. You're going to make a wrong decision. There's no crystal ball. It's how you adjust to it.
Yeah.
Is that a vague enough answer? I guess that's kind of a vague answer. But
It's good. I'm so glad you said that the crystal ball is in your own head, right? And it's up to you to formulate your own opinions and investment theses on what's going on outside of that. But you can't get the answer from everybody. Wants to be hand fed the answer. And what I've learned over the last 6 months of my research during this, crazy changing time and is take the actual data, right? Talk to the operators, talk to your own management company like Tyler was doing. He's reading off his own reports, take that data and then formulate your own decision and opinion about things. Don't worry about everybody else's, because all they're doing is the same thing. They're taking that data and then they're spinning it for their own agendas, right? So you got to get your own data and then formulate your own opinion about it so you can go make a decision. You can't be like, hey, now it's always good to get other people's perspectives, but if somebody's not in a position that you wouldn't trade with, just take their advice on, with a grain of salt, right? So love that. Ryan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's funny. You mentioned two things. You mentioned something about macro, and it's funny. I just read a quote. Someone said, your macro is not, you don't reach your macro until you realize how important your micro is, and I thought, man, it's so many people want to get to the very end and make the money, but they're not willing to do what it takes at the beginning. We talk about mindset. Tyler's helped me a lot with that, but you say formulate your own decisions. We got into this deal about 18 months ago, a little 40-unit deal, and people were like, you're crazy. You're not going to make money. Why would you go invest there? It's in a small little, every negative answer you could think of. Yep. And this deal we bought for $1.1 million, and we're selling it right now during this pandemic for 2.6.
Boom, 18 months.
And everyone told us not to, man. And that's a great thing about this market is I can look at historical data. I can look at current data and predict, future data.
Yep.
But it's important to make those decisions on your own.
I love that you said that, because I chomp off 12 units, 26 units all the time here in Kansas City, because I just put them in my own recipe. And I know that, hey, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but my investors love it because we recycle those projects so fast. There's a huge market for it because the retail investor can come in and do a 1031 exchange into it. And I love those smaller properties, man. We're doing a 36 unit right now, a 24 unit right now. So I'm all about those deals, especially if the market that they're in and the business plan has already been proved. So I appreciate you sharing that.
It was funny to add on to that really quick, man, is a lot of people don't think about it, but we brought some family and friends into that deal.
Yeah.
It was $350,000 to get into it.
Right.
Those same family and friends now we're putting $2 million into this deal we're doing right now, just from those people.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Use it as a precursor to build relationships with investors. I literally handpick new relationships with investors and or folks that I want to be really careful with and make sure that I put them in a deal that I just like, hey, this is a super big value add, but we've done it before. Let's, and they are smaller raises, but when you return that capital to them 18 months, they usually forget that they gave it to you. And they're like, you're calling them. You're like, hey, what's your account number? I need to wire this, double your investment back to you. They're like, what? Yeah. And that's going to fund your next deal right there. Cause they're going to go tell everybody about what you did. So love the success on that. You guys got to do a case study on that deal. I want to dive into that thing.
Oh, we'd love to. Absolutely. We'd love to. And I'm going to mention one more thing if you don't mind, because,
sure.
You had mentioned that you're spiritual and I was thinking about this as you guys were chatting, but so am I. So is Ryan. Very, very much so. It's the foundation of my life, cornerstone, not even a question. And you think of, good and evil. And I mentioned this in this video that you would, mention that you would watch, but you have two opposing forces, right? And the evil side, whatever you want to call that, is its biggest strength or its biggest, I guess, tool, right? Is fear of whatever it is, fear of the unknown, fear of, sickness, fear of poverty, fear of even success, right?
Absolutely.
That's the tool that the adversary essentially uses, right, to control. So it is knowing that and recognizing that it is going a different direction every single time and focusing on what we can control. And I just believe that that's the key to success, period.
Yeah. Well, it's which one do you got two things sitting on each shoulder, one on each, right? And it's like, which one do you want to feed, the good one or the bad one? And the bad one is going to make you feel good, really good at the beginning. But when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to feel like crap because all you did was feed the wrong beast, so to speak. So I can't imagine, not thinking about that on a regular basis, and being able to delay gratification is super important. Like my partners and I, we all live in very modest houses. We drive modest cars. And, when our investors come into town, they're like, oh, I figured you might be picking us up on, a Tesla or something. I pick up them in my 6-year-old Chevy Silverado, and they're like,
I love it.
They love that because they're like, we see that you're not going out there, you're delaying gratification, you're reinvesting in the business, you're getting vertically integrated, and we know you're not taking a huge check. But you know what? 10 years down the road, I might be living in Hawaii or something. I don't know.
I love it.
Most people probably don't know you live there, Tyler, but that's an inside joke between Ryan, Tyler, and myself. But it's all about making, better decisions right now to better yourself in the long run. And now that I have, 2 small children, it's just amplified, man, because they're going to do exactly what I'm doing and living life like that. So it's if you want a better accountability, just have a couple kids, and when they start looking up at you, for your example, and you're not living the right life, and they start to go down the same path, I'm sure that's probably a very motivating factor to get yourself going in the straight and narrow.
No question, and just the straight and narrow, and to pursue things, man. I'm always telling my little boy, we're going on adventures, we're going on hikes, we're jumping off, little cliffs or whatever that they feel is challenging, right? And it is, I can tell them till I'm blue in the face, right? Do this. But I want them to look back and be like, shit, Dad went for it. Dad went for it. He didn't let anything hold him back. He pursued the things that he wanted to pursue and live that life. And it motivates me so much, right? To just be like, man, these little kids are watching. I just want to make sure that it's my number one motivator. I just want to make sure that they look back and say, how do you want to be remembered? I want them to be like, my dad was somebody who set big goals and pursued them, and I'm proud of him. And as long as they say that at my funeral, then I'm good.
Yeah, 100%, guys. All right. This is a very broad question, but it's one that kind of goes in a lot of different directions. Some folks that are service providers that come on, they take it into that route. Some people get, a little bit more high level. But what's the best advice that you guys have received as investors and business owners?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You want to start, Rye, or you go first this time, Rye?
I'll tell you, obviously, I look up to my partner, to Tyler, and I'll say this, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, a lot of times we could think about life and get into, positions in life where, we could sit there and complain. We see that today, so much evil, I guess is what we're talking about going on. But, going through a hard time in my life, just didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. And I remember Tyler saying, man, forget about yourself. We talk about whys, right? My boys are my whys. They're 10 and 8 now. At the time, they were 5 and 3. And Tyler goes, man, forget about yourself and get to work.
Yep.
And, and Tyler, I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that as the best advice I got from an investor is forget yourself and get to work. And that goes, with so many things, man. When you forget yourself and you get to work, you put other people first, man, you reap the rewards. And I see my boys, we're talking about your kids and what they see, what they see from dad. They're not going to remember dad being, down and in the dumps a little bit, man. They're going to remember what, the legacy I created for them.
Yep. Absolutely. Tyler, you got anything? And I've put you guys on the wrong Zoom meeting. I have an upgraded account and I just got the 10-minute mark. So we're going to wrap this thing up in 10 minutes, but I'll keep a countdown. I can't believe I didn't have the right link in there, but that's awesome. Ryan, that's incredible. Forget yourself and forget about yourself and get to work. I love that. Tyler, what would you say to that question?
First off, it's so humbling to hear you say that, man. That's, I totally remember that. Absolutely remember that. And so thank you for saying that. That made my day, man. I would say that it's in line with that and kind of in line with what we've talked about, which is be conservative, right? And invest for the long term. You just mentioned, you just kind of mentioned that, it's not this short-term gain, it's this long-term gain. And that's key. It is sacrificing the short term to just benefit hugely in the long term. So be conservative, invest for the long run, right? And if you focus on what you can control in the short term with that long-term view in play, it'll always work in your favor. So, focus on what you can control in the short term, but with that long-term perspective, I guess.
Awesome.
I love it. If I can add something to that, Logan, is I think
sorry,
so
if you saw me looking there, my 4-week-old is now sitting on the couch. So if you hear him, that's why. But go ahead.
No, I love it.
I love little one. So many people focus on money, man. And better than anyone. I mean, you can make so much money in this industry, and Tyler and I just have this firm belief. And we were taught this actually by Dave Lindahl is when you put relationships first and you don't put money first, you will make more money than if you put money first before relationships.
Yep.
I think that's one of the best advices I've ever got, from Dave was that. And you see the rewards. I see so many people that are so, I don't know what the right word is, but, they're all about money.
Yeah. Well, they got dollar signs in their eyes.
For sure, man. And you know what? Those people fade out quick. Those are the same operators that are losing properties right now.
Yeah, it's the ones that don't have any money, to be honest with you. And they never have because they can't keep it because all they're doing is chasing it. And they're not attracting it because they're not focused on relationships. Zig Ziglar said, if you want to get everything that you want in life, just simply help enough other people get what they want. And it's going to come back around. So, it's so important, man. So thank you for sharing that, guys. I really appreciate that. Well, okay. This is a social show. You guys run in some circles that, I don't necessarily. So especially with the Dave Lindahl group, but this is your guys' opportunity to promote somebody to the show. So what other successful investors, business owners like yourself should be on the LiveFree Investors podcast?
I love that question. That's right in line. You don't just preach it, you actually do it. I love that you asked that question.
Yeah.
I would say, so do you know who Sarah Sullivan is by chance?
I don't. No.
Sarah Sullivan has a show called like the Women's Wealth podcast and a couple other things. Her company's named Sugo Capital.
Okay.
She actually came through and went to one of our classes, and it has been amazing to see her grow and just kill it and find this niche of raising capital and helping, the female audience. And so I think she's awesome. You would love her, man. She's awesome.
Great. All right. Well, if she's on LinkedIn, I'll reach out to her. If not, I'll probably shoot you a message and say, hey, shoot me an intro to Sarah. Ryan, you got anybody?
Man, that was going to be, there's on the spot. What is his last name? I messed it up. It's Maurice Philogene. You ever heard of Maurice?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Love Maurice, man. He's out of DC area. Just a great guy, man. Always helping other people out. Just a really good investor. But he really is about relationships, man.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Anybody that you guys have recommended, it's going to be awesome to have on the show. Okay. I didn't prep you guys for this question. But if you've listened to some other episodes, I ask it to everybody, and I'm just curious. So you guys, I can feel what the answer might be, but my brand is all about living free, and I'd rather have lifestyle design and feel like I'm owning my schedule more than, making $10 million a year. So what's the best way that you guys live free on a regular basis?
I love that question. I've definitely heard that question on your other podcasts, and I've definitely thought about it because it's something I think about regularly. It's not a one size fits all for everyone, and it's different for every person. I think that it's different for every moment. So how I do that, I do that by consistently revisiting what my priorities are, right? Because my priorities are all about living free. And if I don't do that, it's just whatever is the loudest, right, becomes the priority.
Yep, that's right.
If you were to ask me like what my number one priority is, it's my family. I'll say that every single time, family and kids, right? But they're not the loudest. They're extremely supportive. And so I found myself kind of putting them on the back burner, right? I would wake up early. I love that you said that, by the way, because I'm passionate about my morning routine. So I wake up early, go work out, dive into work, and then I would still play with the kids, but I would play with the kids at the end of the day once I'm spent, and then I would spend time with my wife after we put the kids to bed, after I had nothing else to give. And so
just done.
So I course corrected, now I spend time in the morning with my kids when my energy's at the top peak, and I don't start my work day until I do that. And I have specific dates for date night. I plan, right? It sounds weird to say live free by planning, but I plan.
Discipline equals freedom.
That's it. Planning gets your priorities up to the top. So that's how I do it.
Awesome. Fantastic answer. I gotta maybe take that up. I didn't really take any time off with the baby being here, but every morning from 7 to 11, I dedicated to my wife. And I'm still doing that. So except for Mondays,
Awesome.
I have an executive meeting. That's the only time we can meet. But Tuesday through Friday, the last 4 weeks, I've spent with my wife from 7 to 11, and I need to, depending on when she goes back to work, I'm hoping to keep that going. But I love that notion of, because I'm exhausted by the end of the day. And, when we get the 2 kids down, I'm like, all right, you ready to go fall asleep? And so I need to check myself, because that's a real indication of what I'm prioritizing. So thank you for that. Thank you for the kick in the butt, and appreciate that, man. All right, Ryan. Bring us home, man.
I love what you just said, man, is that discipline equals freedom, man. And it really does. Before that, Tyler's really, when he says he's into mindset, he's really helped me with my mindset. And just prioritizing your time, man, and Tyler lives in Hawaii right now, man. And he's able to go surfing with his wife in the morning, and he knows my passion is golf, man. I love to golf. And that's really, outside of that, helping other people out, man. It is, I enjoy service, man. And so it's getting things done early in the morning so I can enjoy things. I mean, it's hot here in Florida, but I love to go out and golf. And
awesome.
So get the things done early in the morning so you can enjoy the things later in the afternoon for me. So.
Well, we are going to get kicked off, and it's just going to stop, and I apologize. But if you guys can get it in, where can guys go to follow you guys and learn more about what you're doing?
mfcapitalpartners.com.
Boom.
Jump on there, send us a message, and we'd love to connect for sure.
All right, guys. I really appreciate it. I wish I could go longer, but maybe this is just the universe saying, hey, that was enough value for one day. So
thanks so much.
Thanks, Logan. Appreciate it, man.
Guys. Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Take care.